district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
Welcome back, Fantasyland, to the district. We are back. We don't do the creep-ins anymore with the guests, man. We just come right up front with it. We just let it all hang out. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for taking a break from your Top Shot, your NBA Top Shot account. I'm sure you could take take a good hour off staring at your account, seeing if it went up, went down, what's out there, if you can get a pack. Nah, man, in all seriousness, this is a time of year where we start getting into the rookie goodness, and we always love to kick it off with a couple of beasts, and that's what we did tonight, man. We bring in a couple of goats, and before I go to them, our boy Dan is he's loafing, man. He's still living the beach life out there in St. Martin with the missus. So shout out to Dan. We miss you, brother. Look forward to getting you back, but your seat is filled super nicely by my boy, the OG Fantasy, Theo. Always a blast to hang out with you. How are you, man?
I'm excited to be back in the GOAT District tonight. I'm getting ready for my all my rookie drafts in the next couple of months, and I'm completely into the Dynasty right now, and I couldn't think of two better guys to talk to about these rookies. Excited to hear what John has to say.
Theo buying orphans is like me signing up for best balls. Like I think at least 2 or 3 times a day I get a DM somewhere in one of our chats with him posting a new orphan he's either looking at or that he just bought. But I love it, man. He's super into it. So he's gonna be writing down. I know I got my pen and paper out to write down some notes. And we brought back 2 of the GOATs when it comes to rookies. And we'll go up top first. I think I still see a mute button, so we might still have a bit of a technical. I'm going to go to our boy, the gridiron scholar himself, fronting the Baltimore Oriole goodness, John Laub, one of my favorite voices on the planet. Welcome back to the district, brother.
Thank you. I think this is like the 5th time I've been on the district. I feel very honored, my friend. I love coming on your show, and this is the time of the year when we get to talk rookies, and I feel really good now. I've done all my research. I still have a few prospects here and there, but I now have my rankings. They're under wraps, except for the quarterbacks and running backs. The receivers and tight ends are coming out shortly on footballdiehards.com. But I really like where my knowledge base is. Obviously, missing the combine is going to be different this year for our analysis. That's usually the final nail in the coffin. But we're going to have to look at the pro days. The numbers are going to come in slowly. And then we have to understand that the numbers might be fudged a little bit. Maybe a 40-yard dash is 39 3/4 yards, or the 3-cone drills are an extra 4 inches closer. But we'll have to fudge in those numbers, and we'll get those rankings, and so that we can have our smartest fantasy drafts. Dynasty drafts.
I can't remember if we had you two on together to do this last year. I think John was with us for our first rookie, or actually, I think John was with us for our live draft. We did like a draft.
I was with your live draft last year.
That was super fun, and I forget who else was on with us. Anyways, I think the Shiva was on with us, but
Shiva was definitely on.
Yeah, the Shiva was on. Dan was on. We had a blast, and I think there might have been even one other person, but that was a blast. But we bring in my boy. He's been on here a few times now. He's. I mean, I could truly say, like John. I mean, he's a true friend and one of our favorites here in the GOAT District. You know him as the FF educator, Matt Hicks. Welcome back to the district. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. It's always good to be back in the district. I love it. And by the way, John is rocking the Orioles gear, like you mentioned. Hey, you know what? I had to put on my hat. Season ticket holder right here, man. We love the O's on this show.
I'm really rich.
I love it. See, look at this, Theo. These guys are on SI, and he's rocking the season tickets. He's probably sitting right there in the front row.
I'll tell you what, JD, I know you're up there in Canada, man. When you're the season ticket holder for the Orioles, you know who they give you? They give you a lot of Blue Jays. Right? So,
anytime. I will come down anytime to watch a Jays game, man. I love my Jays.
Hey, man, post-pandemic, we'll make it happen. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, anything to get out of the house at this point.
How close are you to Toronto, my friend?
Oh, me? I'm 25 minutes. Wow, yeah.
Hey.
Just on the outskirts, man.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. Always fun to go to the T-Dot to watch a Jays game on a nice Sunday afternoon.
They should be good this year.
Yeah, a couple nice young prospects, and little profesh segue.
Yeah.
We're talking young prospects tonight, boys. So look, before we get into it, though, in all seriousness, Matt, I want to, I've given you the congrats. I got to give you a congrats out here on the airwaves. You guys, both of you guys just put out solid work. You guys, for me, you're one of my most reliable sources when it comes to Devy, young guys. I'm one of those guys that until they get to the NFL, I'm just not watching college or following in that sense. So I'm sure there's a lot of people in Dynasty playing fantasy that are in a similar boat. So this for me is always exciting to bring you guys in and kind of get your version of the introduction to this year's rookie class. And that's what I'm excited for. I know Theo's excited for it, and he's actually prepped a serious lineup of questions for you. I might chime in here and there and pick your brains as well. But for those listening, one, go subscribe, press the like button, grab your pen and paper. There's going to be a shit ton of writer downers from this moment on. Theo, it's all yours, brother.
Yeah, so we'll get it started right off the top. I know a lot of us are really excited about Najee Harris, Jamar Chase. Do you guys see this as a clear-cut top tier of guys? And who would be in your top tier? And then who would be in the second tier of guys? And this is for single quarterback leagues.
Go ahead, Matt, if you want to answer first.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a pretty clear top tier for me. I'm looking at my big board, and it is a Superflex big board. So if I take the Superflex guys out, there's two guys in the top tier for me. It's Najee Harris and Jamar Chase, because I think those two guys are really have the opportunity. I don't like to use the word elite, but I have them, I kind of have a grading system, and it drops them into different buckets, and they're what I call franchise cornerstones. All right. These are guys you're going to have on your rosters for the next 4 to 5 years, and they're going to help you win fantasy football championships. I cannot rave enough about Najee Harris. There's some other swell coming up with some of these other running backs, and folks want to make an argument for them. It's not even close for me. Najee Harris, he's a pass catching back. He's a powerful back in between the tackles. Me and John, when we did our video on him, man, we couldn't contain ourselves. We were just like, grinning from ear to ear, trying to break down his tape and control ourselves. In Jamar Chase, man, in terms of the wide receiver, I know sometimes we don't like to put positional, value at the wide receiver position, and he's going to slide a little bit because of that. But my goodness, Jamar Chase, he just wins, man. He grades out so well in all my categories: contested catch point, hands, route running, athleticism. So I think those two guys really lead the way in terms of their positions. And there's certainly other guys, and I'm sure John might have a couple names that you would add into that top tier, but I'm a little stingy when it comes to tier one. All right. I don't like to give that away easily.
So first, for all of the viewers right now, I must apologize. Sometimes my camera with StreamYard. It just froze. Maybe it's because I'm on the camera for 8 hours a day teaching, and the camera can't take the stress. I don't know.
You know you look good, my man. You look good. Don't worry about it.
So I apologize if you.
I thought you were doing a couple push-ups back there.
If you ever saw my belly, you know I ain't doing no push-ups at my age. So, great question though. So I don't want to parrot my partner here, but I think there is just the two tier one guys, Najee Harris and Jamar Chase. And here's why. My model that I use, and I'm not saying it's ironclad or the only model, and there's tons of models out there and people use it. And I study the film also. So my rankings are, I try to be 50-50, film work and model. The only two guys that hit the benchmarks in both, in the wide receiver model and in the Najee model, or in the running back model, are Jamar Chase and Najee Harris. Every other player has at least a half flag, red flag up. Like they're either too small, their production isn't there, their explosiveness isn't there. I don't like something on film. When I'm going to put them in the top tier, I'm putting them that high. You really have to say to yourself, they hit every aspect of my model, and I had no question in my film study that these young prospects would be studs at the NFL level. And that is just Najee Harris and Jamar Chase right now in that top level. That's how I look at it. Now, if we had a combine and that we were always grading every prospect, apple to apples, oranges to oranges, and we know pro days can vary and times, I mean, there's actually numbers where you see pro day numbers are better than combine numbers. I mean, that's like a statistical fact. People have tracked that. And that's why I love the combine. It's not necessarily that I believe that every measurement we get on the combine proves an NFL skill set. But what it does is it allows me to compare players apples to apples, oranges to oranges. I don't know if Oklahoma is going to have the same standards of the pro day as Ohio State, but the combine, we know they do. So without the combine, I don't see myself pushing a player into that top tier unless someone, let's just take Travis Etienne, right? If his numbers were like Jonathan Taylor's last year, maybe he could pop up into that tier one. But we're not going to get that opportunity to see it. Like, I still don't think people understand how good Jonathan Taylor was at the combine last year. It's like one of the underrated stories. Like, what were you guys not watching? His athletic ability was off the charts at the combine. How great of an athlete is Travis Etienne? What is his exact weight? Ladies and gentlemen, is he 199 or 210? We have 205 at Clemson. We don't know for sure. We need some. So some of those exact measurements are also going to be a little interesting. How about Devonta Smith? How many of us want to see what Devonta Smith actually weighs? I think you probably have 1 million people on Twitter who want to know exactly what Devonta Smith weighs. I mean, I've been watching the combine for over 35 years. Now, in the old days, you didn't actually watch it. You had to read about it in Pro Football Weekly. But I've never heard of a person not get weighed. Ever. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, it blows my mind that he wouldn't get on a scale at the Senior Bowl. Like, that's concerning. You have to be a little bit concerned when I love the film, the route running, the hands, the toughness. But he says, what do I have him right? Let me see what I have him exactly at Alabama's, because these are off of the Alabama website. What do I have? I think he's under 175. Oh,
I could tell you he's less than whatever Alabama lists him at.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? So he could be 168.
Yeah, there's rumor he didn't weigh in at the Senior Bowl because he's sub 170.
And that's going to be a tough swallow. So look, I tell you right now, if Devonta Smith was 190, he'd be in my tier 1. But I can't put a 175 guy from Alabama who I don't trust the weight. I can't do it. That's why he's not in tier 1. And I love everything else about him.
So I know that Matt mentioned Travis Etienne, and I know you just mentioned Smith. So when we get away from Najee and Jamar Chase, do you have a clear tier 2 at this point? Is it those two guys plus a couple guys, or is it?
No, my tier 2, and we're still doing non-superflex, right?
Non-superflex, yep.
Quarterbacks out of it. I believe I have 6 guys here: Devonta Smith, Rashad Bateman. I have Javonte Williams, Jamar Jefferson, Kyle Pitts, and Jalen Waddle is right there on the fence. I'm debating Jalen Waddle. It's very hard. He's very close. Let me say he's tier 2B. I mean, it's really close. 182. Again, what is he really going to weigh? And he's never made a full season. He's never played a full season at Alabama. So those are 2 check marks, that red flags that I'm worried about. But that's my next tier.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, this is when me and John start to differ a little bit. So in order, my tier 2 is Travis Etienne, Jalen Waddle, Terrace Marshall, Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts. And that would be the end of tier 2 for me. And tier 2 is primarily guys that I call league winners. They're not just going to be weekly starters for you. They're going to be pushing their positional, running back 1 territory, wide receiver 2 territory, at least a couple times, in the first 3-4 years that they're in the NFL. So, that's projecting a little bit, especially when you get to the tight end position, right? Because we know there's a slow developmental curve. So it's hard for a tight end like Kyle Pitts to get in there. But Jalen Waddle is solidly in there for me. He's my wide receiver 2 in this class, man. He is fast. But it's more than just the speed for him. The way that he runs routes, the way that he cuts a slant, it's really sharp. And what really impresses me, so Jalen Waddle, he's 5'10", 182. All right, that was his most recent weigh-in. When he goes up at a ball, you would swear his frame is 6'2". And he is long. He knows how to win a contested catch. And let me tell you, Mac Jones, man, he threw a couple up there to go and get for Jalen Waddle before the injury this year. So I was really, really impressed with Jalen Waddle. And my guy, Terrace Marshall, he's the one that not a lot of folks are putting respect on. They're not putting him in the top 5. He's 6'3", 200. I wouldn't doubt if he puts on a little bit of weight, comes in maybe 6'3", 210. I think he's lengthy, he's athletic, he's versatile, he's a field stretcher. Kind of the way that, because the wide receiver class was strong last year too, and we had those guys fall to the top of the second round, the T. Higgins type value, I think that's what we're going to get out of Terrace Marshall. So if I'm sitting there at 203, 204, I'm taking Terrace Marshall all day long.
Yeah, I forgot to add Travis Etienne. It's been a long day. I've been up since 5:30. So I made a mistake. It would be 7 because I have to put Etienne in there. I don't know why he slipped my mind. It's just my fault. So, yes, it would be 7.
And it seems like you guys are both in on Javonte Williams as a clear tier 2 guy. And just, from doing some best balls with JD and a couple other grinders in FFPC, Javonte's starting to go a lot higher. It's as soon as somebody takes Etienne, somebody takes Javonte Williams. Yep. It seems like that's the way these drafts are going.
I'll say I'm not on the Javonte Williams train, not to the point where a lot of folks are, and that is not a consensus opinion. It also does not line up with my co-host for the Rookie Big Board videos, John. But for me, I'm just not as sold on him. At least not at the price that we're kind of putting him in. So he's actually he's down at 16 overall. So for me on my big board, so that's a mid-second round pick. And I actually just tweeted out in the NFL Draft Bible ADP, the most recent update, he's 106. So that's like a huge disparity. But for me, my biggest concern, the highlights look nice. He looks strong on the highlights. He's a solid pass catcher. I think that's being a little overhyped. But the vision is super inconsistent for me. There's times where he finds the hole and he looks really good, but there's other times, and it's too often for me, he smashes into the back of his lineman. And you could be the strongest guy, and you could be the fastest guy, and he's not the fastest guy, but you could be the fastest guy. It's the same problem I have with Chuba Hubbard. If you can't see the field, it doesn't matter, man. When you go to the NFL, those gaps are small. It's harder to find the space on the field. So I'm by no means, saying that Javonte Williams is going to be a bust or anything like that, but that's my biggest red flag. If you show inconsistent vision at the running back position, I just can't get as excited about it.
Yeah, I love Javonte Williams. He's my number 2 running back. I mean, I'm a little giddy about him. I mean, I like power, speed.
I was going to say, I know John loves those type of running backs. I had a feeling you were going to gravitate to Williams.
He likes big backs.
I do like
big backs.
And I just see
there it is.
I just see a 220-pound man who can ramble. I mean, let ramble, young man, ramble. I'm all ready, man. Let's punch somebody. I mean, I'm a little old. I do believe that football still at the end of the day is a little bit about physical and spiritual will over the opponent, and I'll take the big back on that. I know, it's not something we talk about in football anymore, but it's still a physical game at its core. And Javonte Williams can bring the physicality.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about him. And we'll just keep this going. So who would be your guys about, top 5 to 6 running backs in this class? And how many running backs do you see as first rounders in single quarterback?
I'll give you my top 5. And then I'll answer the next. It's Najee Harris, obviously. Mm-hmm. Javonte Williams, 2nd. Travis Etienne, 3rd. Jamar Jefferson, who I'm extremely bullish on. He's my number 4. And Michael Carter's my number 5. Now, I've been buying, I shouldn't say that's incorrect nowadays. I've been drafting Jamar Jefferson in the 2nd round. Depending on landing spot, NFL draft capital, and the team he ends up with, he can sneak into the 1st round. But I would definitely say right now there are 3 first-round running backs, Najee, Williams, and Etienne. I think Jamar Jefferson, if he ended up, let's just take it to the silly level, Pittsburgh Steelers. They spend a 2nd-round pick on him. He's a first-round dynasty pick. It's as simple as that. Now, if he goes in the 4th round and he's with the Jets, let's burn it up, baby. We got a disaster on our hands. So, but I am on my film study and in my model, Jamar Jefferson's unbelievable. He pops in my model.
And we're Theo, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're starting to see him creep up those best ball.
No, absolutely.
I noticed him creeping up. Him and Carter, actually.
No, I've actually been taking a good amount of Jefferson in best balls. I actually took him in our Hardway League. I got him late, and then he just keeps kind of creeping up. And, I think he's got a lot of steam. I know that I saw an article this week linking him to 49ers. Apparently the 49ers are like him. And like you said,
they had a video interview with him. Now, we don't know what that means for sure, and that could have been leaking on purpose by San Francisco, but that tells, if it's true, so we have to make an assumption that this is an actual factual report. If that factual report is true, Shanahan's seen the same thing I've seen. One cut runner who can make the cut inside or outside running lanes. I mean, that's what I see, and he's 217 pounds, which means Shanahan needs a bigger back with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. He knows he needs a bigger back in that backfield. I mean, look, he's better than me at watching film and judging players, but if that report is factual, I think he's analyzing it the same way some of us scouts are looking at it.
And how about you, Matt? How would you go with these running backs at the very top after first scout after Najee?
Yeah, really for me, there's two guys at the running back position that I can draft with confidence this year. It's Najee Harris, it's Travis Etienne, and then everybody else is drafted at your own risk, which doesn't mean you shouldn't draft them. There's a ton of running backs that I like. I can go on, we can do an entire show on guys that I like, but I'm not paying a premium. So my running back 3 is almost nobody else's running back 3. I love Javion Hawkins out of Louisville, man. I love Hawkins. He's athletic. He's got great change of direction ability. He's got good vision. He has burner speed when he turns upfield. He looks really, really sharp, and he can do it in the passing game. He wasn't asked to do it, but he can do it. And then I go Javonte Williams, and then I go Kenneth Gainwell. For some folks, Kenny Gainwell is like the top, the dream this year. Now, I'm not quite going that far, but he's a good pass catching back. And if he lands in the right system, at 5'11", 190, I think he can be really effective, and he's got the upside. And then I have Chuba Hubbard, and then I go Michael Carter. So for a lot of these guys, it sounds kind of like a cop-out, but it's going to be landing spot. But my one thing that I want to throw out there is, don't reach for the running back position this year, because everybody's going to be a risk. And so, whether you want to go and get Jamar Jefferson, like we were just talking about, there's reason to be excited about him. Don't get caught in that Keyshawn Vaughn, Zach Moss territory, right? Don't reach at the top of the second. Sit there in the third. And who did you get in the third? You got Antonio Gibson, and you got some other guys. And I could give you guys right now in NFL Draft Bible ADP in the 4th round that I get just as excited about. Like, I love Jarrett Patterson out of Buffalo with an ADP of 310 right now, just as much as I like Michael Carter, who's got an ADP, of 212. So there's so many guys to get excited about, and it's not that big of a difference between running back 6 and running back 13 for me.
So let me ask you, Matt, does that have to do with the depth and the talent at the receiver position? That's kind of why, like, after those first 2, you're like, the risk factor is way too high for the reward. So I'm going to go to this safety zone, which in this draft class, and that was going to be my first question to you guys, and I'll go to you first, Matt, so you can answer my question. Like, what's your general consensus of this class? Like, every class has its thing, like, oh, it's loaded at RB, or it's a really strong QB. Give me your quick, 3-liner on this class right now, and I'll go to John next.
Yeah, so I like to go position by position to give the characteristics of it. Quarterback, strong class. We know that, right? There's guys at the top. We're not talking super flex, but I love super flex, and it's an exciting class for me. Running back, 2 guys at the top. There are a lot of guys I like, but it's not the same talent level. We're coming off of a ridiculous running back year. All right, we got so many good running backs in last year's draft class. That's not what we're looking at, but there are guys that are exciting down the line. Wide receiver, we are stacked. This is the wide receiver class, and that's why, JD, like you're talking about, man, sit there and from now until draft day, your rookie draft day, go buy all the 2nd-round picks in your league and just draft wide receivers, because you're going to get guys like Terrace Marshall, Tylan Wallace. Rashad Bateman's going to be a 2nd-round pick. If you're interested in Rashad Bateman, his ADP is falling towards the 2nd round in NFL Draft Bible ADP. And in this year, this is the year to use your 2nd-round picks on tight ends. Get Brevin Jordan in the 2nd. Get Pat Freiermuth in the 2nd. Kyle Pitts will be gone. You want to get those top 3 tight ends because there's a drop-off after that. But we got no tight ends last year. All right, this is the year to get your tight ends. Because projecting out a little bit, I think we're going to see a little bit of a drought in next year's tight end class as well. But the running backs next year, oh my goodness, we could get a real resurgence in the running backs in next year's class. So we're going to have to be a little patient when it comes to that position.
The FFPC fans out there are loving that info, because the tight end is so preems. Laub, what's your 3-liner on this class?
Running back is not as good as last year. It clearly is not. Now, I think landing spot, these young prospects might be more dependent upon landing spot also. So I do understand if, Theo was talking about in that people are taking in best ball Jamar Jefferson. That clearly to me is they're someone who's late in the draft. They're an astute, draft analyst, and they're saying, I'm going to look for the home run. I'm going for the grand slam. I don't necessarily want an 8-year veteran. I'm looking for the young stud. If he lands in the right spot, I'm going to take that. Now, Matt was very astute. He said, don't fall for the Zach Moss and the Keyshawn Vaughn. And he's absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll be first and foremost. I do like running backs in Dynasty, and I understand you're supposed to draft wide receivers. I get the whole theory, but I tend to lean towards the running backs. Always have, always will. Sometimes it's worked out. Sometimes it has not worked out so much. But I will lean towards the running backs. Now, I do believe the second round is the value. And I will say this, before landing spot, I'm probably not going to take Jamar Jefferson in the top 10 picks. I'm not. I could consider him around the turn somewheres. I've been taking him about 2-4 is the earliest. But these are mock drafts. These are, trying to get value in ADP. I feel real good around 2-4. That's where I really think the value is. I'm not going to reach too far. Now, if he lands in San Francisco or Pittsburgh, the cost is just going to go sky high. Just go sky high. It's going to go nuts, right? Opportunity, system, scheme, coaches, like people are going to go nuts. But everything is at value. Am I going to go Jamar Jefferson at number 4 in a dynasty? I mean, come on, that might get crazy. So, Matt's, you have to have a solid foundation where you say to yourself, the value isn't here. So I drafted Keyshawn Vaughn last year, but I didn't draft him ahead of Brandon Ayuk or Mike Pittman.
I was thinking exactly that, John, because I am guilty on that one. In one draft, I went Keyshawn, and man, I regretted it. And I think it was even ahead of Justin Jefferson. I don't.
But here's the thing: it's like, and I was somebody who was hyping up Keyshawn Vaughn because I did like Keyshawn Vaughn. But we do this thing where we outprice his value. Yeah, so, right. If we had let Keyshawn Vaughn be like a late second-round rookie pick, which is what he should have been, then we would have been fine waiting the 2 years until he's going to really perform, right, in that offense.
Is that because of the position, Matt, or because of the landing spot, you think?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think it's because the running back position is so valuable that we convince ourselves the risk is worth it. So but we use landing spot as an excuse. You know what I mean? And I have Zach Moss everywhere, but I was able to get him really cheap.
You mean to justify it? We use the landing spot to justify it.
Exactly. It's like, oh man, I can take this risk now, and that's fine. Every rookie is a risk. If anybody's sitting here and telling you anybody is surefire, they're lying.
CH
right?
is a good example of that, right? Last year.
Exactly. I mean, how many leagues did I get Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift after CEH? And I was sitting there loving it, man.
Matt, what did I get JT from you for? I don't remember. I was trying to remember.
It's a weird league. I went back because without
is it weird because I've won it 2 years in a row back to back. Is that why it's so weird?
It is weird.
By the way, Matt, do I get a statue for that or something?
I'm working on that. I got a little scheme coming up for that. But I'll tell you, me and JD, we play in this league, and it's wild because you get relegated and you got to stay. And I thought I was getting relegated.
One of my favorites. I gotta say, it's one of my favorites.
So I sold off JT because I thought I wasn't going to be on my team. I went to go get my draft picks, and I think I did. I got a 1 and a 2 from you, and I flipped those picks. You know what? I just flipped those picks to move up from 109 to 101. So I'm going to get Trevor Lawrence out of it. So
that's pretty nice. I like that.
It made me feel a little bit better. It's
win-win.
Super flex.
Win-win. Yeah, that's nice. That's pretty nice. That's a slick move right there, Matt, for sure.
So that I could finish in 9th again and JD can win his third ship.
3. If I get 3, I better get a statue. If I go 3 for 3,
for sure.
In tier 1, I need a statue.
Just a goat statue.
Just a goat. Yeah, that's all I need.
So we're talking about Superflex. Why don't we just go to the quarterback spot? Obviously, we all love Trevor Lawrence. It seems like he's a generational prospect. how would you guys go with the quarterback spot? Is there a clear quarterback 2 for you in this class? And just keeping on that, what would be the tier right after Trevor Lawrence for Superflex?
So Matt and I will disagree a little bit, and this is good. We have healthy disagreements. Now, landing spot is always dictates quarterback. I don't want my quarterback in Chicago, and I don't want my quarterback in the New York Jets. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I have 2 rules in Dynasty leagues. I have never owned a Chicago Bear quarterback, and I've never owned a New York Jets quarterback. And I am steadfast on those rules. And statistically, Chicago is true. In the illustrious history of the league, they kicked off in 1920, folks. 100 years ago, the Chicago Bears started playing football, and they've never had a 4,000-yard passer. So just take that in for a second. They've never had a 4,000. You would think by damn accident that you would have slipped to a Vinny Testaverde who would have somehow thrown for 4,000 yards in Chicago. And they have literally not even stumbled upon. They have not stumbled upon a quarterback who can throw for 4,000 yards in the modern NFL. Oh,
you're not fucking jacked. If you're not jacked listening to John Laub go off in the district, you got no pulse, son.
So ask me how many shares of Mitch Trubisky I've ever owned. 0! I have 0! Chicago, they go to die. So we do have landing spot. So let's get back to your next question. Before we know landing spot, and I'm putting the hex, I've already bought some hexing witch spells. I want none of my guys in New York, none of my guys in Chicago. I now actually feel kind of bad because I'm against the Twitter universe. We have a fight going on between Twitter and NFL. I'm Team Zach Wilson. And I know Twitter is going to hate me. They're going to berate me. And they're going to tell me I'm a fool. I'm an old man. Zach Wilson checks every box in my model. And all I know is that when I watch that young man play, he's spectacular. He's Brett Favre, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. Now, he has the highest ceiling and the lowest floor of any prospect in this draft. He could actually poop the bed. And that is within the realm of possibility. I can't ignore the possibility of Zach Wilson could really play poorly in the NFL for a variety of reasons, because he's a high-risk quarterback and he trusts his arm incredibly well. But there was a young man named Brett Favre coming out of Southern Mississippi. And Jerry Glanville said the exact same thing about Brett Favre. And if you ever watch any of those videos when Brett Favre was with Jerry Glanville in Atlanta, and Brett Favre sat behind Billy Joe Tolliver. And if there's a listener out here who remembers Billy Joe Tolliver, just think about what I said. Brett Favre remains on the bench for Billy Joe Tolliver. And you guys better get out your little Google machine and type in Billy Joe Tolliver, right? So there tells you what Jerry Glanville knew about the quarterback position. And when you hear Mike Holmgren early in his career with Brett Favre, used to drove him mad. Zach Wilson's going to be very landing dependent. He's going to make some mistakes, folks. Early in his career, he's going to make mistakes. Get off of looking at what he can't do. I'm an optimist, believe it or not. And I look to see what they can do. That young man makes throws that I've seen that are Elway-esque. There's very few players I've seen who make the throws at him. Now, I've seen Jeff George and Vinny Testaverde, who have some of the greatest arms I've ever seen in the NFL, and neither are in the Hall of Fame. And I like Vinny. I've owned Vinny on fantasy football teams. It's how long I've been playing. I even remember him at Miami when Penn State beat him in the New Year's Bowl. We were flying home from the Bahamas with my best friend's family, and his dad on the ride home from JFK to Connecticut we heard Penn State beat Miami on the radio. That's how old I am. We didn't have cell phones in the day. You had to listen to it on AM radio. And Vinny Testaverde got bamboozled by that Penn State defense. The point is, arm strength isn't everything. But Zach Wilson does things with his arms that are just unbelievable, and his legs. And I get the narrative. He was better than people give him credit for freshman year. He did have a down sophomore year. People, I'm a teacher. Learning isn't linear. That's a myth. Learning is a goddamn peaks and valleys and crevices and their avalanches, and then you hit heights of Mount Everest and you fall back down. I like players who've had failure in their background. I don't want someone who's been on the top of the mountain forever.
That's a good point.
Look at the range of outcomes is vast for Zach Wilson. I get it. But I have him at number 2. Please don't go to the Jets. Please. I'm just the fantasy gods up there. Please don't go to the Jets. 3, I have Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields, my friends. Like I'm not trying, like I understand this Twitter fight, NFL fight. And if you do see the NFL scouts on national media, they tend to be Zach Wilson. And Twitter's all over Justin Fields. It's an interesting battle. I love just looking around. I just watch from the background and keep my mouth shut. There's definitely an interesting aspect to this debate. People, I can like both players. I like Justin Fields a hell of a lot. He's a great prospect. Let's not even fool ourselves. He hits all of my benchmarks except for games played. And that's my red flag. He might have a higher floor than Zach Wilson. And I think there's a little bit less risk. But I'm not sure if his ceiling's higher. You can't tell me without unequivocal that Justin Fields' ceiling is higher than Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson puts everything together, he's John Elway and Brett Favre. If he puts everything together. Now, is that a 7% outcome probability? Possibly. But it's in there. You can see it in the film. And then, Justin Fields. That game against Clemson is one of the greatest games I've ever seen by a quarterback. I'll tell you the three indelible memories of pain on the battlefield. Lawrence Taylor, New Orleans Saints, 1988, on a Sunday night football game. Watch the game. Lawrence Taylor could not move his arms, and he almost individually beat the New Orleans Saints. 2, Emmitt Smith against the New York Giants when the Cowboys were trying to get their second Super Bowl ring. They needed to beat the Giants in New York to get the home field advantage, and Emmitt Smith separated his shoulder and gave the Cowboys the victory. What Justin Fields did against Clemson, we still don't know the severity of his injuries, my friends. Remember, they don't have to report anything in college football. Try to get injury reports in college football. Matt and I played college fantasy football this year. It's so hard to get injury reports. What I think Justin Fields had cracked ribs. If he had 1 or 2, who knows how many? And for him to play in that game and come out in halftime and do what he did against Clemson is one of the great physical endurance games I've ever seen amongst the quarterback. So to me, he's a top 5 pick without question. And some of this stuff that's going around about Justin Fields not reading defenses is just plain old silly. It's silly. I don't even know where this is coming from. Justin Fields can read a defense and go through his progressions. But I do have Zach Wilson over Fields. Then I do have Trey Lance at 4. And I like Trey Lance, but I'm very concerned about a player who's only played 17 games at the FCS level. I'm sorry. I've seen people with Trey Lance over Justin Fields, which I just can't even. I understand how someone likes Trey Lance over Zach Wilson. Okay. I mean, we can have that discussion. How you can put Trey Lance over Justin Fields is crazy. I'm sorry. Big Ten competition, Georgia, 20 more played, FCS level, 17 games. I just don't get it. And then I do have Mac Jones at 5. Mac Jones is boring. Mac Jones is at his ceiling is Kirk Cousins. His floor is a disaster. The blitz kills him. He has happy feet. He doesn't get the ball off. I get it. But if you're looking for a player who can step in behind a decent offensive line, who can read a defense and get the ball downfield, Mac Jones is your guy. And I think an NFL team is going to value Mac Jones more than fantasy footballers. Because there is a difference. If you've watched NFL football, and it's over 42 years now for me, there are some players who are different in NFL football than fantasy football. Mac Jones, NFL teams, coaching staff, scouting departments are going to like more than fantasy fans. I understand that some of it is his legs. He's not going to get you a lot of points on the ground, but he is going to be an NFL quarterback. Now, the ceiling is Kirk Cousins, but he could be a washout. I mean, there's a chance Mac Jones doesn't make it. He's only basically a one-year starter, maybe a year and a half, depending on what you count. So there's a real disaster floor with Mac Jones. But an NFL team is going to like Mac Jones a lot. In a super flex, I have 4 first-round picks. Matt Jones, if you're desperate and you're at the end of round 1, I don't think I would do it. I think he's a second. Matt probably wouldn't take him till the 3rd or 4th. But I understand because I like guys like Kirk Cousins in super flex. I tend to take those guys. I'll take them. I loved having Phillip Rivers for years in Superflex League. I had no problem with them. So it depends, but I think Mac Jones, to me, around pick 18, so middle of second round in the Superflex, I think there's value there. Matt will disagree, and that's fine. I'll let him speak. But that's how only 4 to me deserve first round Superflex grades.
Well, how about you, Matt? How do you see the quarterback position?
So similar. Our big disagreement's going to be on where we put Zach Wilson. So for me, Trevor Lawrence, he projects out in my generational tier. Yeah. That's not a tier that people get put in. All right. So he is, easily the best quarterback prospect that we've seen in a while. Justin Fields is my 2. I'm a big fan of Justin Fields. For me, Fields has one of the highest ceilings, and I don't think we're talking about that enough. I mean, if you really think about it, Justin Fields, he goes to Georgia in his freshman season. He was originally a Bulldog, and he just gets horribly misused by Kirby Smart. I mean, just absolutely, it's embarrassing. So
it's by Kirby Smart, literally coaching malfeasance.
I mean, just absolute ridiculousness. So he goes to Ohio State, and he has to win that job and learn that scheme on the fly. And he wins out that job, and then he's starting like that as a true sophomore at Ohio State. And he puts together a really impressive first year on campus. And then he comes back, and he's battling through this COVID-shortened season. Remember, the Big Ten had it bad, and they thought they weren't playing. They picked it back up. And I think he handled himself very well. He's 6'2". He's 223 pounds. He has fantastic mobility. And what nobody's talking about is he can run designed runs very well. It's not just scrambling with Justin Fields. He can run designed runs well. He has fantastic arm, and his mechanics are right up there with Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, he has some mental processing issues. Hey, spoiler alert, so does every college prospect. So does Trevor Lawrence. All right. I mean, that's just, it's a difficult game. I mean, these are 21-year-old kids processing the field. There's going to be some issues. So Justin Fields to me is a very high ceiling. And let's not forget, Trevor Lawrence is I believe 247 Sports is number 1 all-time high school recruit. And Justin Fields, I think, is 8. So, I mean, these guys come from a high caliber. And then 3 for me is Trey Lance, and 4 for me is Zach Wilson. Now, everything John said, he made a great case for Zach Wilson. Here's my point with Trey Lance over Zach Wilson. And I'm not even going to get into the tape evaluation too much. What I'm going to focus on is the way that you want to play fantasy football. When I play fantasy football, I'm swinging for the fences. I'm looking for my hits. And if Trey Lance hits, I mean, it's Josh Allen 2.0. He's got a huge arm. He's a great runner. He's going to score those red zone touchdowns if he develops into the quarterback we want him to. Is there a guarantee that he's going to hit? Heck no. Guys, the quarterback position is the most difficult position to scout. There's no such thing as a surefire prospect, and you times 3 that when it comes to the quarterback position. So Trey Lance, he might not work out, but I'm going to take my risk on Trey Lance because the reward for Zach Wilson, I'd argue, isn't as high. I think he has a lower ceiling. I know John disagrees with that, but I think he's a guy, he's pretty much going to be limited to the pocket in the NFL. There's claims of mobility, but I like to compare his mobility to Baker Mayfield's. He could scramble around if he needs to, can get a first down if the pocket breaks down. But Zach Wilson, when they tried to run design runs for him, my goodness, he can't read the read option, guys. He has no idea what to do with that ball. So, I need my quarterbacks who are going to run the ball. And for me, that puts Trey Lance on a much higher level for me than Zach Wilson. And then after that, guys, I mean, everybody has their value, but don't bother. Just,
yeah. There's I like Mac, but there's no one after Mac Jones.
I'll tell you what, wait until the 4th round and take your shot on Jamie Newman. That's what I'll tell you. 4th round, Jamie Newman. Don't, Mac Jones, he's 22 right now on the big board. That's a late 2nd round pick. You get him in the late 2nd round in a super flex? Sure, why not? Kyle Trask, he's a 4th round pick right now in the big board. And I'm old enough to remember, gentlemen, back in October when Kyle Trask was supposed to be Joe Burrow. So it has been a fall from grace for Kyle Trask.
Hey, Matt's going to like this little tidbit because he's going to know the inside joke. So you guys, you GOAT people are going to get an inside joke. Matt, guess who NFL scouts are loving lately? The rumors.
It's not Sam Ellinger. Get out of here with Sam Ellinger.
You know the joke. I knew the NFL scouts would love him.
John loves Sam Ellinger. It's like his favorite college. Because you know why? Because Sam Ellinger has been winning him college fantasy football championships.
And I don't have him. I think I have him number 9 or something. But he's not an NFL. But I knew the scouts would like him. They're going. The games played. The rushing.
Watered down Tim Tebow.
Yep. Tim Tebow 2-0.
All right, Theo, we got 20 more minutes of Laub goodness, and I'm going to do a really quick right here. Check your screen if you're watching. Guys, there's how many days left in February? 4? Something like that? 5? 6? Around there.
4.
Less than 10. Put it that way. Easy math. Guys, go over to ViridianGlobal.com/collections/GOAT District. Check out that beauty on your screen right now. If you won your league last year, any league, you want to flex that thing. You want to remind your wife, your friends, your brother, your dad, whoever. You just want to remind everyone that you won that ship, son. You took it down. All those hours you spent scrolling through waiver wires or free agents and trades and paid off, man. So now's your time to flex it. We got the GOAT, the 101, the champ shirt for 2020. And right now you buy any GOAT top, the hoodie I'm wearing right now, a t-shirt, you get entered to win a free hat. And we got a bunch of different hats, GOAT hats right now. So go check it out. I got one right now on the screen. There you go. A little Tuca action. So guys, go check it out. Viridian, just a good company doing good things in fantasy. They got all your favorite podcasters on there, brands. Go check it out. Support the pod if you can. We appreciate it. And till the end of February, like I said, the contest is for our listeners. Buy a top, you get an entry for a free hat. Theo, I'm back to you, brother.
So just getting to tight ends, we're all super excited about Kyle Pitts, and I've seen a couple of whispers that he's going to get drafted as a wide receiver. Is there any truth to that? But let's all hope that he stays tight end eligible for fantasy sake. And then after that, are you guys Pat Freiermuth? Are you guys Brevin Jordan? Who would be your tight end two in this class? And what other tight ends really pop for you at this point?
So Matt said something very important, like playing for upside in Dynasty. And I will say a tight end, that's all I play for. So first of all, I understand why someone might want to play Kyle Pitts at wide receiver, but his value is a tight end. But that's another story for another day. Like, you put him on the field at tight end, then you get mismatches. I mean, so I'm not even going to discuss this nonsense about playing him at wide receiver. That's just silly. There's no value in that. Now, for fantasy-wise, I'm tight end Brevin Jordan because the upside compared to Freiermuth, to me, is in Brevin Jordan. Now, this is where the combine hurts. Is Freiermuth a Mike Gesicki athlete? We know Penn State has freak athletes. They also must do something in their training for the combine. Because if you look at what Chris Godwin, Saquon Barkley, and Mike Gesicki all did at the combine, it was just silly. So where is Freiermuth as an athlete? We're not going to really know for sure. And I think that's going to bother me a little bit in the analysis, because I believe that Brevin Jordan is a better pass catcher, more explosive ceiling as a fantasy asset. Freiermuth might be the better NFL tight end. And I'm not saying he's going to be he's going to be a good fantasy asset, but I think Jordan has the higher ceiling with the explosiveness, the speed, the agility. Now, also, Jordan has been injured. So there's risk with both of these, but I have Jordan as a fantasy dynasty asset number 2, Freiermuth number 3, but I wish we had a combine. And then I like sneaky value in Hunter Long or Kenny Yeboah. I like Kenny Yeboah a lot.
John, I'll say this, just looking at this player profiler page, Jordan's breakout age, 99 percentile, 18,
Yeah.
And his college dominator, 31.5 at 90 percentile. I mean, that's pretty sexy.
Yeah, Brevin Jordan is and Matt might agree with me on film. He's a special player on film.
How about you, Matt? Where would you go with the tight end position after Kyle Pitts?
Well, John said he wouldn't entertain it. I will entertain it. And this is actually an interesting point. And Kyle Pitts is the perfect example of it. Every year, before I go in and I start watching the next year of tape, because there's about a month that I give myself off, the month of May after the draft and before I start my summer scouting in June. I'll go in and I'll look at my process, really look at what worked and what didn't, and tweak it throughout. And I found this last year, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was I misvalued players because I wasn't sure what position they would play. Like Antonio Gibson, I wasn't in on Gibson because I wasn't convinced. Is he a running back? He's a wide receiver. And he graded out not as high as he should have because of that. So
is that recency bias, Matt?
Well,
guys like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like it was like I don't understand what he's supposed to be, and I can't put him in a hole, in a slot. And so what I went back and did is I added an athlete category. So in the rookie big board, it's all broken out by positions, and there's an athlete category. It's only about 6 guys out of the 180 in this year's class, but for me, that's really helpful because I have a different evaluation, different set of grading materials for each one of my positions. An athlete has a different set of grading compared to the tight end position. And when I went in and graded Kyle Pitts out as a tight end, I got to tell you guys, he didn't have a super strong grade, but when I put him in as an athlete, his grade bumped up a lot better. And so I have him listed as an athlete. Now, do I think he's on the majority of NFL draft boards as a tight end? Yes, absolutely. But I would bet, I'd be willing to put down a few dollars that he's on at least 2 or 3 NFL teams' draft boards as a wide receiver. And it only takes one team, guys, right? It only takes one team to make you a wide receiver. And is it going to happen? No, probably not. Is it within the realm of options? I think it is. But moving past Kyle Pitts, because if we're talking, if he ends up a tight end, then he's going to be the best tight end, prospect in this class. Brevin Jordan, if Kyle Pitts didn't exist, we'd be talking so much about Brevin Jordan. In terms of a pure tight end talent, this guy is special. 6'3", 245. He's super athletic. He's a crisp route runner. He's got really nice hands. Go back and watch the clips of Brevin Jordan hurdling ACC defenders, because there are clips of Brevin Jordan getting up and going over guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. And so right now he's got an ADP of 209 in one quarterback leagues at the NFL Draft Bible. I just took him. I'm doing a mock draft with my patrons, and he was there at 206, and I snagged him up. I was like, there's not a chance. And I was doing another industry mock, and he was there in the middle of the second round. I snagged him up. If you're playing in my league, you're not getting Brevin Jordan after the middle of the second round, all right? Because I'm taking him all day. And I like Pat Freiermuth too. I think he's really good. I think he's getting washed out a little bit just because these other guys are good. So get your tight ends this year, because you're not getting them next year. And John mentioned Kenny Abbo. That's a good late round, round 4 or 5 if your league goes deep. Tony Poljan out of Virginia. He's definitely raw, but the dude's like 6'6", 235, and he has a little bit of wiggle in his game for being that big. And then another name just to keep an eye on, Quentin Morris. He's 6'2", 233, so he is kind of that hybrid mold. He's at a Bowling Green, so you may not have heard of him, but he was on the Senior Bowl radar. He's going to get drafted probably day 3, but there's a little bit of guys that you could take your shots on, but my goodness, the best value in the draft is Brevin Jordan. He could end up being the best value of any position. Like, I love Brevin Jordan, and if you can get him in the mid-second round of your rookie drafts, I'm doing that 10 out of 10 times.
Theo, I think Hicks is just he's a professional. He knows our audience. He knows the FFPC, and he's just dropping bombs out here with the tight end position. I fucking love it. I love it
too. It's great.
I love it, brother.
I think it's awesome. It's Kyle Pitts has gotten so much attention that I think people are just not excited enough about Brevin Jordan, Pat Freiermuth, and it's a deep tight end class, which is exciting for me and a lot of us.
It's a very deep tight end class, very deep.
Hey, Theo, before you drop your next legit and very targeted question, Laub's got a jam because I think ESPN, it's either ESPN or Fox Sports. One of them, I know they want him on live.
I wish. I'll keep going till 11:15. Let's just
look at Laub, eh?
I'm wide awake.
Generous man. We appreciate you, brother. Go ahead, Theo.
This is a fun one, and I know that Matt, you've already talked about Jimmy Hawkins. You've talked about Brevin Jordan, a couple of these guys that are not our first round type guys. What non-quarterbacks are must get for you guys in rookie drafts? Really focusing on second and third round type guys. Who do you really want to walk away with, and who are some guys that are kind of off the radar right now that we should all be paying attention to?
I think he asked Matt, right? You want to go first, Matt?
Either
I can go first.
I'd like to hear both of you guys on this one.
I was giving JD time to grab his pen.
And Matt, if you could also give a chance to talk a little bit more about Javonte Hawkins, because I think people really want to learn about him after you dropped him at running back 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we could start there with Hawkins. For me, Hawkins, he's playing out of Louisville. He's 5'9", 196, and he's a filled out 196. So he's got a built out frame. I really like him. He's got quick speed. He's a burner. He's not given enough credit for his acceleration, but he's got really quick lateral movement as well. He sees the field really well. And if he hits that second level, you're not catching up to him. All right, that acceleration, it's gone. For me, if you put him in space, the elusiveness is really dangerous. He's going to hit you with the spin move. He's going to juke you out of your shoes. And he has excellent change of direction ability. He's got a good sense of when to change direction. It's clean cut. And one thing you have to know about the Louisville offense is that it's bad. It's inefficient. And they also don't ask the running back to catch the ball a lot. And this is one thing that me and John talk about a ton. You don't knock a player for not doing something he wasn't asked to do. It's the reason we didn't knock A.J. Dillon for pass catching last year. He could catch the ball. BC didn't ask him to. Well, Louisville didn't ask Javonte Hawkins to catch the ball. But when they did, when they targeted him, he looked really good. So Hawkins was kind of lost amongst the shuffle in this like really bad offense, but I think he's a super fun player. So for me, that's why he kind of falls in that running back 3. And listen, draft position could suck. If he goes day 3 in the NFL draft, if he goes round 5, then he's going to plummet down my board. But in my pre-draft grades, he really pops out, and not a lot of folks are talking about him. 2 other guys that I'll throw out their names in that second, late mid-second round territory, guys I really like. Demetric Felton out of UCLA. He's another guy who I've listed as an athlete. So Demetric Felton, actually, you'll remember, we all remember the Josh Kelly craze. Demetric Felton played wide receiver primarily.
What do you mean? It's not over yet?
It's always Josh Kelly. That should have been on the list of other guys that ended up getting pushed up too high. It's all circular, man. It all comes back. So when Josh Kelly was at UCLA, Demetric Felton was playing on the outside. He was playing primarily as a wide receiver. And he was efficient there. They also let him take snaps in the backfield. I believe he took like 100 snaps at running back, and he had a lot of receptions for UCLA. And he looked sharp, but he was always this guy. You just want to find a way to get him the ball, right? He's athletic. He's twitchy. He's really good in space. He speeds up quick. And then Josh Kelly goes to the NFL, and they let Demetric Felton play running back. And when playing running back, he was super productive this season. He looked really good. It was a short Pac-12 season, so the stats won't pop out to you, but I liked his vision. He goes to the Senior Bowl, and they have him running routes at the wide receiver position. And lining up when one-on-one drills, he's breaking people. He's absolutely making these defensive backs look silly. So Demetric Felton, he's in that athlete-type territory to me. I think he's like the closest we come to like Antonio Gibson in this year's class. So if he ends up in the right landing spot, I think he's going to be a lock second-round pick. His ADP is actually much lower right now. It's in the 3rd round. But I like him a lot in the 2nd round. And the other guy that you may not have on the top of your radar yet that I will point out is a guy, me and John just did a video about him released this week, and that's Dwayne Eskridge out of Western Michigan. He's a wide receiver. He's 5'9", 188, so he's a little bit smaller, but I like him a ton. They played him on the outside at Western Michigan. He'll have to move inside in the NFL, but he's a guy that could tear up the seam in the NFL. He's explosive. He's a field stretcher. I mean, he's going to cut a slant harder than most folks in this draft. And I mentioned he's a little bit shorter. He can go up and get the ball. He could snag it out of air. And he has one of the best releases in this class off the line of scrimmage. And he's going to be an absolute mismatch on the inside. Now, it's not a perfect comparison in terms of height, but the guy I keep thinking of in terms of his fantasy football impact, his explosiveness, the way he could stretch the field to get off the line of scrimmage, I see a lot of Will Fuller in Dwayne Eskridge. And that's a name that should get fantasy football players excited, right? Because, we don't get too excited about Will Fuller because of the injuries. But if he was healthy, he'd be an impact player every year. And Dwayne Eskridge is a guy the NFL loves. He's going to go top 100. I feel very confident in that. So he's going to be a day 2 pick. And once he's a day 2 pick, his fantasy football value is going to skyrocket. So there's a lot to like about Dwayne Eskridge.
And how about you, John?
I'll give you a running back who I think is not being talked about enough. I do like Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech. Originally was at Kansas. Didn't have 1,000-yard season on his resume until – did he get 1,000 yards? Oh, my God. I think he came close this year. I think
he did.
Right? What? So – He's 5'9", 207. He's compact, big frame. He's got better vision than people give him credit for. When he gets into open space, he can be a breakaway runner. He would be like he's one of the players who could really rise or fall at the combine if we had one. Now, he still might hit a home run at his pro day. We don't know. I very much like the film. When I pop him into my model, it shows me that he has NFL level production on the profile. I liked his film study. Just not sure yet where his actual athleticism falls. What I like from my model, 6.1 yards per carry. I like that very much. This year, scrimmage yards percentage for the Hokies, 28% of the team's scrimmage yards. I really like that number. Career rushing yards over 2,900. 34 receptions, not a ton. But my friends, he played at Kansas. Have you ever seen Kansas quarterback attempt to complete passes? So there, you have to put it into context why his passing numbers are so low. So I'm very interested in Khalil Herbert. Draft capital is going to weigh heavily. Is he a third-round pick or is he a fifth-round pick? I like Herbert, someone I'm watching very closely. I would have really been interested and had my eyeballs on him if he was at the combine. Because what's his 20, what's his 40 time? But more importantly, what would be his 3-cone drill and his 20-yard shuttle? Because on film, he looks like he has short area burst. And he definitely has quickness, some lateral agility to him. But we don't know because film can be misleading. But I like Khalil Herbert of Virginia Tech a real lot from my study. And my model says he's an NFL prospect. Doesn't mean he's a star, but he's a prospect. Yes, go ahead, JD. Did you want to say something? Or are you just looking pensively?
No. I'm just trying to look good for the camera, bro. That's all. No,
So there, and then I've actually.
Oh, fuck, those aliens, man. Those aliens just come in. They
What
just
a cliffhanger. What a
Yeah.
I know
cliffhanger.
it's a
All
huge
right.
cliffhanger.
till he comes back. Quick shout outs to Johannes S in the chats, to our boy Trav from the True North, and our boy Forrest Law for just dropping some great questions and comments. So appreciate you guys hanging with us and dropping some comments. So Laub is I think he took a rocket to the moon. So Theo, do you have any other questions for Matt that you? Because
No, good, Matt. Matt covered an absolute ton. I will put you on the spot here. If Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver, where does he fall in your wide receiver rankings?
Oh, I like that. I love the FFPC twist that Theo brings to everything.
And first of all, it would be catastrophic to FFPC players if the tight end of all time is suddenly a wide receiver and we don't get to have him there. So let's hope it doesn't happen. But if it happens, where would he go with your wide if he's a wide receiver? Where do you put him?
I feel like that's like equal to the Jalen Samuels drama of like him being a tight end or running back or whatever the heck he was
Or
there for a
some
little
of us
while
were-
last season.
And
Yeah.
some of us were hopeful that Claypool would be a tight end. There was that steam last year where, somebody would draft Claypool as a tight end. And we were, that would have been unbelievably exciting. He's so great as a wide receiver at times, but him as tight end, the guy would be like tight end 3 in Dynasty right now. So,
Yeah. For me, so I'm looking at the wide receivers around him, right? Like on my big board. So so right now he's 11 on the big board, and Devonta Smith is 9. Rondale Moore is 12. Tylan Wallace is 13. And, I think maybe he stays above Rondale Moore. He probably he would hang in there wide receiver 5. I think most likely, I like Rondale Moore, but I have some questions about him. So I don't know that his evaluation would drop off too much, but the value would drop off, right? Getting a wide receiver versus a tight end. That's kind of where you would drop off. So I don't think I could put him above Devonta Smith, but you'd have to think he'd still be over Rondale Moore and Tylan Wallace.
I feel like the wide receiver position, like everybody's got like their favorite, and that's
right.
I love these years, and I like how you kind of position that, especially kind of when you're approaching your rookie drafts. Like Theo's got about 49,000 rookie drafts he's got to do. So once those top 2 running backs are gone, I like how you placed it. You can kind of play with your wide receiver position, pick your favorites. We're seeing them kind of all over the board, right? Oh, our boy John's coming back. He's coming back. Maybe not.
And it's about getting your guy at the end of the day. Like, you know how many people thought I was reaching on Justin Jefferson last year? And I was really happy that they thought I was high on him. And, so at the end of the day, man, pick the guys you like. Listen to the analysts that you like. Hopefully it's me. If not, pick your guy that you like or your few folks that you like, right? And go with your gut. Hit on your guys. That's what makes it fun, man. That's why I do all this. I watch all this tape. You want to hit your guys and you want to be able to brag about it.
Yeah, I think it's good to get different perspectives. Like if someone brings a valid point, it's especially if it's information you didn't have. For me, it's all about having the right information, and then I'll kind of make my own decision. But figure out where you're going to get the source. Like, what's your source that you're relying on for that information? You got to be selective. You can't just anyone that pops on your podcast player or on your YouTube. You got to be selective. You got to follow these people, and you got to figure out, like, are they worthy of, investing in their opinions, right? And this year, is John with us? He's not with us. All right.
No, I don't think so.
All right, we're good.
I mean, here's the bottom line. And I'm not, everybody has kind of what they bring to the game and everything like that. So there's a lot of folks, and I'm definitely not the only one out there, but there's a lot of folks that are tracking these guys from when they're freshmen in college, when they're high school kids. And it just gives you that context, that extra knowledge. It's like, why would you get excited about Demetric Felton? And it's like, well, you can go 3 years back and kind of see his progression and how he's kind of come into his role. So, that kind of stuff is helpful. And what I always say to folks when it comes to playing fantasy football is, figure out who you want to get your information from in each realm. Like, I'm not a best ball expert, but I'm hitting up you and Dan for advice. You know what I mean? And I'm listening to the GOAT Best Ball podcast, and because I want to learn more about that. I don't pretend to be an expert in that. I put all my effort into the rookie side of things and the Devy side of things. So, figure out who your guys are who your analysts are in every realm and kind of lean on them. But you're right. Like, we're getting to this time of the year where everybody has a take on rookies, and everybody's take, I'm not hating on anybody's take, but some folks just have put more research behind their takes. So it's helpful to have that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And look, one thing we don't do on the GOAT, like, we never pretend to know something we don't. Whether it's myself, Dan, Theo, anyone that comes on the district, we bring people on because the knowledge, like, we know the knowledge is there. We're not pretending to know anything. The reason we bring guys like you and John on, we want to be introduced to these rookies properly. We want the right information and the right strategy on approaching them, because there's a million different ways you can get your information out there. You got to be selective. All right, John's just not coming back. He's been swallowed in by the Netherland or the Netherworld or whatever you call it. So look, Theo, I know we were trying to we're at 11:06 right now. So just to kind of stay within the parameters, is there like a last question or something that we haven't hit these guys with that you want to throw out there before we close this thing out?
No, I think we covered it all. Maybe we could end with this. Matt, we saw so much impact from the 2019 class, guys like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and then obviously the 2020 class seems like it could be one of the better ones we've seen all time for fantasy football. How would you compare this class overall to the last two classes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think 5 years down the line, we're going to look at the 2020 class probably as the best one. And I think it's because, as a whole, having that many special running backs in a class is game changing, just because of how scarce the volume of impact running backs are in fantasy football. But I think we're definitely going to have 21 over 19. 2019, it's produced some good players, for sure. But 2020 was special. And I think 2021 is going to give us those wide receivers and those tight ends. And for those folks who are playing Superflex, this is a really good quarterback class. We've had some up and some down quarterback classes over the last couple of years. And this is going to be a really good one. So I think it ends up falling somewhere in between, But, again, it depends on the position. Wide receiver, this is going to be the best class. And I love some of the wide receivers last year. Tight end, this is going to be, I think, pretty close, pretty equivalent to the Hawk and Fant, year, 2019. And quarterback, we're going to be looking pretty good. And so, and running back, I think it's going to be a little, I think we'll be better than 2019 in running backs. That was like the year where it was just like really Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders. Yeah. But so I think we're going to be better than that. Probably about equivalent, because I think we're going to get two guys, like I said, that I really like. And that's kind of what we got out of 2019. But I like Harris a lot more than I like Jacob. So I'll give the nod to this class.
Good. I think that's definitely reassuring to people trying to value, the worth of their first round and second round picks right now. I think that's if this class exceeds 2019, I think that's a big win for fantasy football.
Yeah, absolutely. I would feel pretty confident with that with a lot of positions, and get those second round picks. Your first round picks are good, but those second round picks, that's what you want right now. And they're cheaper. So go get those.
Awesome.
I love hearing that, because I know a couple leagues I have like 3 or 4 second rounders. Maybe I'm not loaded in the first round, but
that's the money, man.
Loaded in the second. You try to upgrade those third rounders in the trades. My boy John Bosch taught me that real quick. But one thing we didn't mention before we kind of close this thing out is the FFPC, myffpc.com. Big supporters of our what we do here in the district, and we're big supporters of them. And whether it's Theo or Matt or anyone that we play with, I mean, pretty much all of us play on the FFPC. It's just the tight end premium, the aspect of it, the variety you have, whether it's best ball, Dynasty. Right now, Theo, I keep talking about, he's buying up orphans like they're going out of style. He's Daddy Warbucks of Fantasyland. But no, man, there's a reason we play on it. And we were all like, I don't know about you, Theo, but I was playing on it like way before, like I've been playing on it for years, right? Before we kind of bring it to the goodness here on the district. So go out there, myffpc.com. If you're not already on the site, this is a good time, because the best balls are flying. There's best balls, slims, deep 28, super flex, 1 QB, eliminators, live, 6-hour slow draft, 2-hour slow draft, any type of flavor. It's like going to Baskin Robin. I don't know if you guys have Baskin Robin US, man. I might be way out of.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, come on.
Right, we have it. We have
nice. Laura Secor, Baskin Robin. You're going for your flavor. You want a variety, and that's what the FFPC offers: variety, competition, and a shit ton of money to win. Right? $500,000 to play fantasy. Where else are you finding that? FFPC, man. Go check it out, guys. This has been awesome. Like, I always come in with a pretty high expectation, Matt, you and John, like especially combined with the rookies, but always above expectation, man. I hope the listeners appreciate it. Theo, I'm going to let you kind of give your last 5 cents and kiss our guests goodbye, as we would say up here in the French land of Canada. But no, man, just great job with the questions, and anything you want to close it out with before?
No, I thought John and Matt were awesome as always, and I'm starting to get really, really excited. We have free agency. Players are getting franchise tagged in the next couple weeks, and then we have free agency, and then we have the draft. So it's an awesome time to be a fantasy football player. And this was I got some great stuff out of this show. I'm sure anybody who listened to it got some awesome stuff as well.
Matt, man, always a blast having you on. I feel bad we lost your boy Laub, because he was going to hang out a bit longer, but plug anything both of you have, with yourself, with him. You guys are dropping goodness. If you guys are not following these two on Twitter, you're just doing everything wrong. Just erase everything. Do like the Men in Black, like the little thing where they like make you forget everything. Go follow these two. Especially when it comes to the young dudes, the rookies, the devies. These are your boys. Matt, remind them where they can find you guys and the goodness you guys got for them.
Yeah, man, we got a lot grinding right now. This is our time of the year. On Twitter at the FF_educator. John's over there at Gridiron SCHOL 91. Our combined project that we work on, it's a super popular series, doing it for the second time this year. head on over to Rookie Big Board on YouTube, and we do quick player profiles about 9 minutes each, 8 to 10 minutes each and we'll end up doing about 50 players. So we break down individual episodes on all these players we're talking about. So it's Rookie Big Board on YouTube, but we also are a part of the NFL Draft Bible podcast network. So we're dropping those. If you prefer the audio version, we're on any podcast provider, NFL Draft Bible podcast network. Those come out on Mondays. We drop 5 at a time, so you can really kind of get your info for the week when it comes to rookies. So that's what we're working on together. You know, we just got the move NFL Draft Bible. We're on Sports Illustrated now, which is super awesome, powered by Fan Nation. So that's si.com/NFL/draft. And I've been talking about the Rookie Big Board. That's what I kind of use to help guide me along when it comes to that. And that's available for everybody else, you know, to take a part of. It's all the rookies, 180 guys. 80 of them have finished profiles right now. And then as well as Dynasty rankings, Devy rankings, Cornerstone rankings, rookie ADP, all of that is available if you want to get, you know, a little bit deeper into the game at patreon.com/theFFeducator. $3 a month for all that goodness, as we would call it here in the district.
Yeah, that's why I love my boy Matt. You know, he's tuning in on the reg. But guys, check out it. Like I love Theo, how he brought up Sports Illustrated. Like I was talking about my I don't know, my shaving cream or something, you know, like it was nothing, you know, like, you know, we're on Sports Illustrated and stuff, you know, just like chilling and stuff. No, man, guys, Matt Hicks is he's similar to Dan and Theo and guys that I hang with. Like I just feel like these guys are seriously undervalued in Fantasyland. So obviously not, because Sports Illustrated tuned in, but if you're listening to this and you're not following those two, you're doing it wrong. Go check them out. Always dropping goodness like they did tonight. Theo, this was a blast, man. You filled in some big shoes, but you did it well. I appreciate all the goodness you brought. What you got another orphan you working on there? You got
no. I'm orphaned out unless I see something that's overly appealing. But I'll be in some Dynasty startups, so I'm excited about those as well. I'll be adding to the portfolio.
Nice. He's the OG of fantasy. Theo is just a blast all around, man. And hanging with you guys is a blast. Like I said, we appreciate you taking time away from your NBA top shots, because, you know, we all work in that website right now, you know, checking our, what is it? The 5 digits went down to 4 digits, but we're still close to the 5. So we okay, boys. Guys, thanks for hanging with us. Check out my FFPC Dynasty Depot. You know, I joke about Theo, but in all seriousness, he's out there working at Dynasty Depot, buy and sell with rosters, orphans. There's a reason. He's got a smile on his face, and it's because he's working it. So go check out our friends over at Dynasty Depot, myffpc.com. Dan, I hope you're enjoying the sun, brother, because I could use a beach right now. That's all I got to say. Maybe I'm locked in, but we all could, you know. All right, boys, we appreciate you hanging with us tonight. Subscribe, like, all of the above. Be happy, be safe. We'll check you all.
Go district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.